Okay, let's settle down. Quiet. Let's quiet, please. Thank you. Let us be seated, please. My name is Dr. Edgar Githua. I'll be your moderator for today's session and event. Welcome. Your Excellency, Ambassador Philemon Young, President of the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly. Your Excellency, Mrs. Zainab Hawa Bangura, Director General of the United Nations Office at Nairobi. The Principal Secretary, State Department of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Korir Sing'oei, CBS. Dr. Vincent Ogutu, Vice Chancellor, Strathmore University. Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to Strathmore University for this very unique session and this inaugural public lecture by His Excellency Ambassador Philemon Young, the 79th President of the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly. This is a unique opportunity where academia meets industry, or better put, where industry meets academia. At Strathmore University, we have a degree in international studies, and some of the things that are taught, some of the questions that students have, today we'll get an opportunity through the public lecture by His Excellency to get to understand the workings of the UN and to also to be able to understand his vision and mission as the 79th President, as the President of the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly. So it's with great pleasure that I want to invite our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Vincent Ogutu, the Vice Chancellor of Strathmore University, to come and make his welcoming remarks and to also welcome us because he is our host and this is home for us. Welcome, Dr. Ogutu. Round of applause.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Philemon Young, who's the President of the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly. Your Excellency, Mrs. Zainab Hawa Bangura, Director General of the United Nations Office here in Nairobi. The Principal Secretary, State Department for Foreign Affairs, our good friend, Dr. Korir Sing'oei, welcome. And our host today is actually the Dean of the school, Strathmore University School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Dr. Magdalene Dimba. Thank you. We have several excellencies, ambassadors, and high commissioners who are attending this online, and some of the guests are here as well, so you're all very welcome. Distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Strathmore University. What a great honor to have the UN here with us, having this conversation at our premises. We know that Strathmore exists to serve society. It started just with Kenya, but I'm reminded more and more by our international students, some of whom you've just met, Ambassador Philemon. And they keep reminding us, you're forgetting us, we're also your students. So we say we're not a Kenyan university, but we're an African university that is located in Kenya. We have students from over 50 countries worldwide, most of them from countries neighboring us here in Africa, both Francophone, as you'll be happy to know, and Anglophone countries. And now our mission of service to society has expanded. It's now embracing the UN mission, both by the kind of people who come to study here, the ones who teach here, and also just the reach of our programs and the kind of programs that we have. In the School of Humanities, we have conflicts. We hope someday to resolve internal conflicts as well, and to develop the kind of expertise that can bring peace to our continent. We have our faculty participating in research in the areas of diplomacy, even in the areas of digital diplomacy, misinformation, cybersecurity. We have research on that, and that could have an impact on diplomacy. We are big on some of the issues the UN is embracing and that you are looking at particularly: climate change and sustainability. For the past 2 years, Strathmore's theme of the year has been sustainability. We try to practice what we preach. So when it comes to, for instance, being green, we have a 600 megawatt plant. The roofs of our buildings have solar panels, and so we supply electricity to the country. We not only consume, but during the day, our excess production, we sell it to the national grid, and so we help provide clean energy for the country. And we try to also train the continent on how to do that. So we've had solar engineers coming for training here from different countries. There are governments that send their personnel to Strathmore to be trained on how to set up a solar panel, how to service it. All of that is taught here. And organizations that want to go green also come to us to benchmark. And we show them how they, like us, can become independent power producers. So this is something that we not only teach, but we try to exemplify. And then we know that the UN is promoting green campuses. We're a member of the green campuses in Kenya, and we're recognized as one of the greenest universities in Africa. 2 of our buildings have actually won international prizes, like the best educational green building in Africa. So over different years. So every building that we put up after the time we started building the business school, which is the first one to win that award, and then the law school, which also won the award, we now design them to be green buildings. We are interested in issues like poverty and getting people out of poverty. We do that in various ways. We have a very good, vibrant mentoring system where we go to the slums near Strathmore, and we also go to underprivileged parts of the country. We send our students there to mentor those students so that they have a higher chance of making it to university. And so in some places, we've raised their chances from 5% to 50%, so that 1 in 2 students who go through the program end up getting a college degree, and we try and give scholarships to the ones that we can. We don't have enough funds to give everyone a scholarship, but that is one of our dreams, to one day become a need-blind university that has the kind of funds that universities like Yale, Harvard, Oxford have. So no one should be denied a place in Strathmore because they don't have the money. At the moment, about 15% of our student population is getting financial aid. We'd like to extend that so that it could be 100% if need be. We do our best to be inclusive and to have people from all communities to come here to Strathmore. So we are open to people from all religions. So if you walk through the compound, you'll see people in hijabs. So Ambassador Zainab, you'll be happy to see that we have representation from all over. We have Hindus, we have Muslims, we have Catholics, Protestants, evangelicals studying here at Strathmore. So we're very pleased that you chose to come here. We are happy to partner with the UN. We help in so many ways. I'll quickly mention the family program that we have partnered with the government. So PS will be happy that we helped come up with a policy that makes Kenya acknowledge that if the family is core to our society, then we need to invest in the family. We can't just assume the family is alive and will be thriving without investing in training parents, in creating training materials for parents. So this is something that we have co-created with the government. So we're very pleased that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora partnered with our School of Humanities to bring you here. I've looked at your vision, incredible, trying to unite different parts of Africa, trying to bring the diversity of Africa, but still finding unity in that diversity. We've looked at your concern for reducing the wars, for addressing climate change issues, but I'll let you deliver that and tell us what your vision is for Africa and what part all of us can play here. We have a fantastic audience waiting for you, of both people invited by the ministry and by the United Nations here in Kenya, and then our own students and faculty who have lots of questions and they're eager to hear what your vision is. So thank you for honoring us. Thank you both for coming here, and PS for honoring us as well. We look forward to a very, very engaging and enlightening afternoon. Thank you. Welcome to Strathmore.
Thank you, Dr. Ogutu. Thank you for your kind remarks and welcoming remarks. At this juncture, I want to invite the PS, State Department of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Korir Singoe, to come and also give his remarks, and to also invite our chief guest, Ambassador, His Excellency Ambassador Philemon Young. Welcome.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Philemon Young, the President of the 79th UN General Assembly, Your Excellency, Madam Bangura Zainab Hawa, the Director General of the United Nations Office in Nairobi, the Vice Chancellor of this great university, my friend, Professor Vincent Ogutu, Excellencies here present and others who are online, students of this great university, my dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, hamjambo. Good afternoon. Your Excellency, Mr. President, when your predecessor was here about 2 years ago, Ambassador Stevens went to the University of Nairobi to deliver a lecture. But we thought that you should come to Strathmore. And I'm very pleased that we made that decision. Because here in Strathmore is a microcosm of the entire continent. And I think you've already had a flavor of that. And therefore, I think today, the conversation you will have will be richer, deeper, more illuminating, and more uplifting of this community and the audience that is online. Your Excellency, therefore, on behalf of the Republic of Kenya, on behalf of my minister, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, I feel very privileged to be able to welcome you and to introduce you. Ambassador Philemon Young, as you know, is a seasoned diplomat with a track record of experience. He served as Prime Minister, Head of Government from 2009 to 2019 in the Republic of Cameroon. He's held important governmental positions, including Vice Minister of Territorial Administration, Minister of Mines and Energy, Minister and Deputy Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic, and Grand Chancellor of National Orders at the Presidency of the Republic. Ambassador Young has been Ambassador of Cameroon and High Commissioner to Canada for 14 years, has also served within the African Union as a member of the panel of eminent Africans of the African Union since 2020. And so you can see that in Ambassador Philemon Young is somebody whom we will truly draw enormous inspiration. And so without much ado, Your Excellency, allow me to welcome you to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for the President of the 79th Assembly, Ambassador Philemon Young. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. If I say I'm pleased to be here, that would be an understatement. I am gratified to be here because I always look for an opportunity to commune with young people, and especially young people who are at your level. It's a wonderful opportunity to even address a few words in your presence. I thought I should say a word about what I do every day. The UN has the habit of electing every year one person who becomes the President of the General Assembly of the United Nations. And this is for 12 months. President of the UN General Assembly in September 2024, and in September my term will be over. I will also be involved in helping choose the next person, the person who will succeed me. Will probably be a German, because I think in Europe it's Germany that will provide the next president. I am also very happy to be here. This is not my first time in Nairobi. This is a beautiful place. I've been here many, many times before. Sometimes I would go through here to countries like Uganda, South Africa, Tanzania, or Seychelles. So I am also in many ways psychologically Kenyan. Your Excellencies, my dear students, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, I thank the government of Kenya for welcoming me to this country. Since we came in yesterday, we have been treated like heroes, even though we're far from that. It is wonderful to be at this university, Strathmore University, to address you. I wouldn't say address you, to have a conversation with you. And on hearing the Vice Chancellor, I think you are more the University of the United Nations than anything else. The United Nations was created to be the organization of the people. And in fact, the charter at one place says, we the peoples. It means it includes all of you, you all members of the United Nations. Definitely, Kenya is represented in the United Nations, but all people, all the youth, all the handicapped people, even the people who don't hear, who cannot write their names, are members of the UN. So I am very happy to be with you. I dare say that I am eager to converse with you so that I may listen and learn. This is an academic environment, and you have great ideas here. I'm ready to learn from them. I am especially delighted to speak to you today. When I got the invitation, I thought to myself, who thought of this? And I thank everybody who thought of inviting me to come here. You students are the future of Kenya. Not only of Kenya, you're also the future of the African continent and the future of the world. You are the leaders of tomorrow. and our civilization needs you. Indeed, one of the great privileges of serving as President of the United Nations General Assembly is to engage with young leaders. You are effectively a leader. You don't need to have an organization to lead. When once you're studying and expressing yourself, you are one of the leaders in the world in which we are. Your vision is what will direct the way the world goes in the near future. You are not only the leaders of tomorrow, but you're the leaders of the generations that will come. You are all rising stars in a world that is constantly dynamic. It is you who ultimately will reap the rewards or bear the burdens of the work of the United Nations. The United Nations makes mistakes, you will bear the burdens. The United Nations does everything right. You will enjoy a life which will be very different from what we've known in the past. The United Nations is an organization which was created to serve all the peoples of the world. I am also mindful of the special responsibility that this organization has. My dear friends, 80 years ago, United Nations was born in very difficult circumstances. The United Nations was created after two world wars, World War I, 1914 to 1918, and World War II from 1939 to 1945. And the objective of the United Nations was and is to avoid all the troubles that wars cause. Because when people fight, some die. Those who don't die might have very twisted lives afterwards. Human rights and human dignity. And all these pillars have a very serious cross-fertilization between them. Peace will be little or nothing if your dignity as a human being isn't respected. If you're treated like a dog, peace wouldn't mean anything. And peace doesn't mean anything if you cannot feed your children. Your children cannot go out to school. The aim was to create a world in which we safeguard our climate and natural heritage. To be healthy, we need an environment which is healthy. And that is why the issues concerning climate change are of concern to all of us. And it's one of the areas where no one country can change everything all alone. We need everybody on board. We need a world where nations work together. All nations face global challenges. These challenges oblige us to embrace international cooperation in all its forms. In fact, no human institution or organization is perfect, and the United Nations isn't perfect. I could even say that human beings are imperfect, and everything we create is imperfect as a reflection of who we really are. Our crucial area for reform, and the United Nations needs to keep reforming itself so that it can be better, includes issues concerning what we commonly call the United Nations Security Council. We must consider how to make the composition of that council more representative of all the regions of the world. The present composition of the United Nations Security Council is far from satisfactory. Yet, despite these imperfections, the United Nations remains a force for good. The United Nations was created to bring good into this world. And if the United Nations didn't exist, we would create one. If you look at the world, you look at the news every evening, you see all of we have difficulties, conflicts. If it is not war, it is confusion. And if it's not confusion, it's a number of people creating problems for each other. So in spite of these imperfections, the United Nations will keep working so that you can enjoy the opportunities which exist in spite of all the challenges. My dear friends, do not forget that 80 years after the founding of the United Nations, this organization, United Nations, continues to play a vital role. Why? It is necessary for maintaining international peace and security, advancing sustainable development, and upholding human rights and the fundamental freedoms. And the UN remains the foremost platform for multilateralism because it is uniquely positioned to address the challenges across the world. And the challenges I'm referring to, all of them cross the borders. There is certainly a real challenge which remains a national challenge. All of them cross borders. All countries and human societies are interdependent. Because we are interdependent, we must embrace both sovereignty and internationalism. Even countries that are sovereign cannot close their doors to international cooperation with other states. My faith in the United Nations is enduring. We all need that organization. And as President of the UN General Assembly, I chose a theme which comes from the bottom of my heart. And what is that theme? I quote, "Unity in diversity for the advancement of peace, sustainable development, and human dignity for everyone, everywhere." I believe that the UN is the only organization capable of advancing the multilateral cooperation needed to realize my vision. My vision is not a single person's vision, it's the vision of many, many people. And I think all of us look up to the United Nations so that we can organize and have the world we desire. Dear friends, in September 2024, heads of state and government came together and adopted the Pact for the Future. Through the adoption, all the countries of the world, all the states renewed our commitment to international cooperation. We also laid out in the Pact a comprehensive blueprint for building a fairer, more just, and more effective international system. All nations and societies can both compete and cooperate at the same time. Please, I'd like to have some water. For Africa, the Pact for the Future holds transformative potential with commitments that directly address key priorities on our continent. These priorities include: 1, reforming global governance structures, particularly the United Nations Security Council, to reflect today's realities. The UN Security Council does not reflect the realities of our world. 2, advancing fairer trade and development policies that empower African economies. 3, securing financing for development and reforming the international financial architecture to ensure African countries have a voice in shaping global economic policies. And number 4, promoting an open, free, and secure digital future that leaves no one behind. But simply acknowledging the Pact's transformative potential is not enough. Otherwise, it remains just some words and aspirations. we have an obligation to implement the Pact for the Future. It is a process whose time has come. We must take substantive, concerted action to implement it, because the Pact gave us an opportunity to make commitments so that we can have better results and bring meaningful change to people's lives all over the world. My dear friends, we live in a modern and dynamic civilization. We must also recognize that science, technology, and innovation are vital to Africa's socio-economic transformation and sustainable development. These are the engines of progress. Those are the engines driving solutions to Africa's challenges, propelling industrial growth, and expanding job opportunities. This is evident in Africa's growing startup ecosystem, particularly in hubs like Kenya and Nigeria. In these two countries, Africans showcase the continent's immense capacity for innovation. One of the annexes of the Pact for the Future is the Global Digital Compact. This annex, which lays down the groundwork for an inclusive, safe, and open digital future for all, provides significant momentum in this sphere for the future. Already, the United Nations, its agencies and partners are investing in Africa's startup ecosystem through initiatives like Timbuktu, unlocking youth potential and accelerating development. We live in a rapidly evolving world. To advance further in science, technology, and innovation, we must strengthen educational systems, improve infrastructure, and ensure equitable access to digital resources. Bravo, well done. From listening to your Vice Chancellor, your university is a leader in all these sectors. And I know that you play an important role in the future of Kenya and the world. At the educational level, expanding access to quality science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, education is essential to unlocking Africa's potential. That kind of education will enable us to give ourselves the future we desire. Only we, as people all over the world, can create or fabricate the world we desire. It is the key to harnessing the power of the greatest asset, is increasing youth population while fostering homegrown innovation and sustainable development. Your generation, all of you, is capable of determining what the future of Africa will be. Beyond the Pact for the Future, the international community has several opportunities this year to strengthen its commitments and accelerate implementation of our shared sustainable development goals. These opportunities include: 1, the review of the World Programme of Action for Youth; 2, the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development; and 3, the 2nd World Social Summit on Development. Each of these moments presents a crucial opportunity for the international community to come together, shape effective policies, and deliver tangible improvements in people's lives. All the peoples of this world have a right to live better lives. Equally important, this year marks the 30th anniversary of the 4th World Conference on Women. In 1995, leaders adopted the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. Kenya has a special connection to this anniversary. It was here that the forerunner to the Beijing Declaration, the Nairobi forward-looking strategies for the advancement of women, we agreed upon in 1985. In fact, the Pact for the Future acknowledges that the world is a long way from achieving gender equality. Gender issues are definitely important. The fact reminds us that realizing gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls is indispensable to achieving progress across the Sustainable Development Goals. Achieving gender equality requires all hands on deck. Young women and young men must work together to change social norms that effectively discriminate against women and girls. And whenever we talk about gender, it's important. I don't know from where this comes, but somebody said that humanity is like a bird which flies with two wings. One of the wings is a man, the other wing is a woman. Why wouldn't any society fly with the two wings, men and women? And I think it was Mao Zedong who said that women hold up half the sky and men hold up the other half of the sky. So we have reason to work together so that the gender issues find solutions. Just a few days ago, I formally became an international gender champion. I have committed to place gender equality at the core of all my priorities. I have established an advisory board on gender equality to promote the guidance on how to advance gender equality and women's empowerment across the work of the General Assembly of the United Nations. My dear friends, let us be frank. Sustainable development cannot advance during the ongoing tragedy and chaos of constant bloodshed in different parts of the world. In our world, conflicts and tragedies are commonplace. That is not good for our civilization, because we need peace to be able to develop and serve humanity. Across Africa, ongoing crises are destroying communities, displacing millions, and undermining efforts to build peaceful, inclusive, and resilient societies. As we speak, conflicts are crippling economies, uprooting families, threatening the futures of millions of young Africans, fueling humanitarian disasters, and devastating the environment. In this context of increasing conflicts, governments are often compelled to divert scarce resources to purchase weapons and maintain their armies. These are precious resources that could otherwise be invested in resilient communities and in long-term development. This is why the African Union's Agenda 2063 sets a clear and urgent goal. This goal requires that we silence the guns by 2030 in full recognition that without peace, development cannot take hold. Guns cannot bring us sustainable development. Instead, guns jeopardize all our development strategies. But we must take heart. It's not too late. Conflict is not inevitable. We have the tools to avoid conflict. The founding mission of the United Nations requires that we prevent conflicts. We must learn to resolve our disputes peacefully. We can avoid conflicts by strengthening governance, expanding economic opportunities, and reinforcing multilateral support for peace building and conflict prevention and peaceful resolution. Your Vice Chancellor did mention this, and I'm very happy to hear that you're already working on this, and that in future you'll probably be negotiating and teaching people how to resolve conflicts peacefully. As President of the General Assembly, I will push this agenda forward. I will convene a high-level thematic debate on peace and security in Africa. The aim is to drive action on the future of peacekeeping and expand United Nations-funded, African Union-led peace support operations. We are optimistic about this objective. The 79th session of the General Assembly is a critical moment for action, commitment, and global solidarity. Through collaboration, innovation, and decisive action, United Nations, together with member states and all stakeholders, can drive meaningful change in people's lives worldwide. I remain committed to supporting efforts that strengthen global cooperation, advance sustainable development, and promote peace and security for all people. We can do that with renewed resolve as we anticipate the milestone 80th anniversary of the United Nations. This anniversary is both a moment of reflection and a call for renewal. Every anniversary gives us an opportunity to analyze the past, act prudently, and endeavor to shape the future by making the right decisions today. Today we have an opportunity to reaffirm and revitalize the spirit of the United Nations Charter. The Charter instructs us to forge a future where generations to come will no longer endure the pain of war. Wars rob us of our dignity. Wars destroy human beings. The United Nations Charter is the constitution of the UN, and it encourages all of us to resolve all our difficulties peacefully. This is a task that requires all our efforts. The task involves not just governments, but civil society, academia like you are, and the youth like you are. Let us stand together to advance the noble goals of the United Nations, to leave no one behind, and to usher in a brighter future for all in all parts of the world. I wish you, all the young people, a great future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you, Excellency. You have given us a lot of food for thought. And now I'd like Your Excellency to invite you once again to come and now join us at the podium here for a question and answer session with our students so they can engage with you. So Your Excellency, Ambassador Philemon, kindly. And I'd also, in that same light, also invite Your Excellency Zainab Hawa. Please come and join him at the podium. And I'll also invite our Principal Secretary, State Department for Foreign Affairs, Dr. Korisingwe. Kindly join them at the podium. So we want to have a robust question and answer session, and we want to structure it and, get His Excellency's thoughts on a number of issues that he has addressed. And I know students can be very engaging. So what we are going to do, so that we, in the interest of all and in all fairness, we are going to allow maybe 2 questions, and we give His Excellency an opportunity to answer those questions, elaborate on them, and then we move to the next set of 2 questions. And in the interest of fairness and equity and equality, we will now field from all genders, hoping that all of us field questions. So what we're going to do is kindly raise your hand wherever you are, and when you get the microphone, introduce yourself, let us know who you are, what you're studying at Strathmore University, and then ask your question. Kindly ask 1 question. I have moderated before, and I know our students can be very clever. 1 student stands up and asks 10 questions. So please, 1 question, in the interest of fairness, so that all of us are able to have a robust discussion and to give His Excellency an opportune time to explain and fully expound and unpack on the issues that you will have raised. So I think I saw a hand up this side. All right. So kindly stand up, please. Introduce yourself. Tell us your name.
My name is Kelvin Minor. I'm a student here at University.
Tell us the program you're taking, please, if you don't mind.
I'm doing computer science, but I have an ardent interest in diplomacy. So for my first question, I may have many, but as you
Only
just
one.
said, I'll just
So
just
ask the burning question that you have. All right, ask the one burning question that you have.
precisely. Mr. Philemon,
Ambassador Philemon.
what year is it?
Ambassador
This
Philemon.
one, this one.
Thank you. He's a computer science student. So international studies, we excuse him, but thank you. You stand guided.
Sure, I stand corrected. Ambassador Philemon, you've said one thing that I actually intended to ask you, and it seems as if you took the words out of my mouth. And it stands with what the UNSC is comprised of. Currently, in 8 years of the UN, we do not have any representation in Africa, a continent with 1 billion people.
Please speak louder. He is not getting you clearly. Probably the mic
Okay.
control room, please just raise the volume of the microphones that are going to be in the crowd, so that our guests can hear clearly those questions.
Am I inaudible? Okay, sure.
Is that better, Ambassador? Is that much better? All right, go ahead, please.
Okay,
It was the United Nations Security Council.
yes, exactly.
Go ahead, continue.
So for the 80 odd years that the United Nations has been in existence, a continent of well over 1 billion people has not had any representation whatsoever in the United Nations Security Council. Ambassador Philemon, what have you done during your tenure that has expedited or at least led into
So you've asked your question. Thank you. Come in front. Excuse me, kindly just come to the front. But if I paraphrase his question, Ambassador, if I got his question right, he was asking, in the United Nations Security Council, during its existence, we do not have any African representation. Yeah, thank you so much, Ambassador. Thank you. No, he's gotten the question. He has gotten the question. Thank you. Thank you so much for your question. All right, one more question, then we give. So it's a lady. It has to be a lady. Let's come to let's take Chinama in front, and then we'll keep on making sure that everybody's question is fielded. So one question. All right.
Okay. Sorry. The vice chancellor told me to speak in French. Okay. Okay. Okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
Thank you. Je mets mon nom de Chinama. Je suis en 2e année en relations internationales et je suis de la République démocratique du Congo. Alors, ma seule question est de savoir, en fait, j'ai trop aimé la phrase dont vous avez dit que le futur de l'Afrique, c'est entre nos mains, nous étudiantes. Le futur du monde entier, c'est entre nos mains. Nous devons prendre en charge cette code-là. Alors, le problème que nous avons, nous étudiantes, c'est que nous n'avons pas d'opportunité. Lorsque même nous envoyons nos CV, nos préoccupations dans des entreprises, ils ne nous prennent pas. Donc, le fait est que quand on n'a pas d'opportunité, on n'a pas de connexion, c'est très difficile qu'on nous prenne et ça nous fait très mal. Au fait, nous avons peur. Nous avons peur même après les études, nous ne savons pas où y aller, nous ne savons pas quoi faire. Alors, c'était juste ça ma question. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
I'll just summarize what she said. She's from DRC, and she's wondering what we can do about the fact that when we send our CVs, we're not sure we're going to get a job. We're almost traumatized just thinking about that. So what can you tell us as advice?
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gutu, for that translation. Let's take 2 more questions. So, okay. All right. Let's hold on. Let's hold on.
Hello, do you hear me? Thank you very much. The first question concerns the reform of the United Nations Security Council. I give you a few details. But let me begin with the question which was put in France. In French. Vous complétez vos études, mais vous avez du mal à trouver des emplois. I think the issue of finding a job is an international problem. All you can do, be in a society, if you find any advertisement in any place, you apply. But there is such a big competition that you're not going to get the job except you are one of the stars. I know you are all stars here, but you have to work very hard, inform yourself, and know what the qualifications required are. Let me give an example. The other day we had a meeting at my office, and it was about interpreters and translators. It is very difficult for anybody to get recruited in the United Nations as an interpreter, as a translator, because they require 3 languages. And the exams they give are extremely difficult to pass. So to compete in the world that is to come, you have to work very hard and make sure you're almost a star so that you can get recruited. Even here in Kenya, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, even if you are from Kinshasa, même si vous êtes de Kinshasa, il est difficile. Il faut se préparer pour concourir. Il est très important de savoir que quand on fait un concours, on peut ne pas réussir parce qu'il y a une compétition. So work very hard, don't be afraid. You will end up finding a place. The world that is to come will be a very open world, and everybody will compete and succeed. So don't be afraid. Concentrate on your studies. Don't see the world as closed in front of you. I know most of you here will end up with beautiful jobs, but work very hard. Don't see the difficulties. Work now on what you are doing. So when you pass your exams, you will be a star and you will easily get recruited when you take the exam for recruitment. And in any case, we're not in a perfect world. Not everybody is going to get a big job because the jobs are limited. But if you work very hard, you end up with a good job. Thank you. Let me address a question which is important. Thank you, sir. I had to ask you to speak louder because I wanted to hear you. I thought this would be an interesting question. The UN Security Council, the reform of the UN Security Council. On this question, a bit of history is necessary, and I know you're interested. I give you that short history. When the UN was created in 1945, there were only about 50 member states, and they created a UN Security Council, which is the organ, which is the organization at the UN, which looks after issues of peace and security. If there's a war in any place, it could be in Congo, it could be in Sudan, the United Nations Security Council addresses the issues, listens to all the people, and tries to find a solution. So that's an important organization. Unfortunately, at the time it was created in 1945, there were only 5 permanent members: the United States, China, Russia, France, and the United Kingdom. Now, with the passing of time, we no longer have only 50 members in the UN, we have 193 members. And we are now 80 years. Not that the Security Council hasn't done its job. The Security Council has done its job with some difficulty. But now it is important that we adapt the realities of the Security Council to the realities of the world in which we live. So people are asking that the Security Council, instead of having only 5 permanent members, should have more. And it's now a general agreement, the United States, France, and a number of other countries believe that Africa, which doesn't have any permanent member in the UN Security Council, should have 2 seats. It is almost becoming common ground and common sense that the United Nations Security Council should have 2 permanent seats for Africa. Many people seem to agree, but this is still being negotiated. And I am very hopeful and wish that Africa should eventually have 2 permanent seats so that we can be more present in a powerful manner within the UN Security Council. Why is this so? Number one, if you don't have a permanent member in the Security Council, you don't have a lot of weight within the United Nations. And hopefully there will be 2 African countries which will have that permanent membership. Also, a lot of the conflicts in Africa would perhaps be better viewed if we had permanent members who can easily understand them and be able to make suggestions.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Ambassador, go ahead.
I think I'll add, in addition to what the President of the General Assembly said, on the recruitments in the UN, we have very open system. And we use all the social media, LinkedIn and others. If I advertise a job in Kenya, you can be rest assured for one job there are like 500 applicants. I think what the President is saying, you people, you have to look at the job and read the terms of reference, and your application has to be connected to the job. Because if we advertise, I have 500 people who apply. The automated machine looking at the job description, the requirements, does the screening. So if you do not pay attention to what is required, just send your CV, you might not be chosen. Because the machine eliminates those who do not meet the initial requirements. So once it does that, it then comes to the HR, who will now do written tests. And in the UN, we do blind tests. So they don't use your names. They give you numbers, so that nobody knows who is who. And once that written test is done, this is again why the President is saying you have to do extremely well. That written test will shortlist you to 5, say 10 people. And it is those 10 people that will interview. The challenge we have, which is in Kenya, we have 86 UN offices. So the Secretary General, in his reform agenda, he has introduced the efficiency agenda, meaning instead of having 86 HR offices in Kenya, you have one person doing the recruitments. So UNON, the office we had, has been choosing as the head, the CBO, the lead, that will handle HR recruitment. So we're going that. And one of the things, spending the day with the presidents of the General Assembly I've learned, he's saying that as the world changes, as the situation, as the circumstance changes, you adopt yourself. This is what we're trying to do here. So instead of having 86 HR offices, we're trying to have one HR office. So somebody who is interested in a job in Kenya will be able to know, once you get to that website, you know that all adverts will be put there. So as he said, we represent 193 countries. So you put an advert, you can have people from 60 countries applying. So imagine how we can screen that. So that's why it is important, if you're looking for an application, we don't deal with CVs, we have what you call PHP, which is your personal history profile. That's how to call it. So I think it's important to understand the system, to see how it can be handled and how you can apply and how you can sit the exam. We also have what they call the young professionals, which is also being done from New York. So go to the websites, learn about it, and then you can. We are open here in UNON. If the university feels that you can get somebody who can talk to them about joining the UN, we can send so that they can come and just educate people and understand what it means. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. That will really help, and especially when they go into their internship programs and when they're looking for their jobs. Let us take 3 questions, please. Where is the microphone? Yeah, let's start there. Simran.
Good afternoon. My name is Simran. I am a second-year international relations student. So my question to you, Your Excellency, is we're all aware that Kenya has sent their troops to Haiti for the peacekeeping mission. And my question to you is, what advice would you give Kenya as a nation when it comes to how they're handling this mission?
Okay, thank you. Let's take a gentleman. We've been on that side. Let me move to this side. So Rajab, give it to Rajab. Jeremiah, the gentleman standing.
So my name is Rajab Wanga, an international relations student, first year. And thank you, Your Excellency, for choosing Strathmore. So my question to you is, you've spoken about the Security Council reform, and you've given us a bit of history. So looking at the power dynamics in the Security Council, my question to you is, which 2 countries from Africa do you think?
Which 2 countries in Africa should get those 2 seats?
And what strategies do you suggest for the African countries so that they can be able to get the position in the Security Council? Thank you so much.
One more question. Thank you. Okay, let him handle this too. Your Excellency, welcome.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to use my head to answer the questions. Well, about Kenya sending troops to Haiti. That is a wonderful thing. It shows the maturity of your country, and it shows that your country is interested in helping other countries go forward and find peace. I have no advice to give Kenya. Kenya has done all the correct things, and I can only praise Kenya for having done that. Thank you very much. Then about the Security Council, you are right to ask which 2 countries will have the permanent seats. We are not yet there. The day we get the 2 permanent seats, there will be a solution. The African heads of states are very wise people. They will get together, they will lay down the criteria, and they will choose the countries which will be permanent members of the Security Council. Don't be afraid. The whole point is to get the 2 permanent seats. Whichever African country will be in there will represent you very well. Do not be afraid. The future belongs to you. It also belongs to Africa. The 2 countries chosen by the wise African heads of state will represent all of us. I have no fear. I am confident. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Your Excellency. Yes, Dr. Korir.
Your Excellency, with your permission, if I could just intervene also on the matter of Kenya's mission to Haiti. As you're aware, Your Excellency, our mission there is based on UN Security Council Resolution 2699 of 2023, which established the multinational security support mission to stabilize Haiti by way of enhancing the capacity of the Haitian National Police to be able to deal with the gangs that have taken captive of this very, very important country, which is populated, as you know, by black people like ourselves, ancestors of ours who are shipped across the Atlantic during the transatlantic slave trade. And so we have a moral duty to be able to support our brotherly nation of headquarters of the government. And they are now in the process of beginning to think about an election in a year or so time. And so these are the conditions that are necessary for the return to normalcy of this country. I'm happy also to report, Your Excellency, that schools that had been shut down for over 3 years have reopened, and children who had been denied the right to education are back in school. And therefore, the future of this nation is probably being restored thanks to the deployment of the multinational security support mission. And lastly, Your Excellency, part of the challenge has been around financing for this mission. It is financed through, as you know, a trust fund. That trust fund has resources until maybe October of this year. But there is discussion we have with the UN, and you're aware of it, to transition this mission to a DPOK. And that also is something that we will be coming to you on. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Singoe, for that clarification. All right, yes. Thank you, Dr. Gutu, thank you. Jeremiah, yeah.
Good afternoon, Your Excellencies. My question for you, Your Excellency, is how are you able to balance the act of getting different states that have their own differences to participate in matters of mutual interest, such as climate change, as you had mentioned earlier, especially with increased global tensions and conflicts? Thank you. How are you able to balance the act of getting different states to come together despite them having their own differences to tackle mutual interest issues?
Let's take a question from Guy Jeremiah behind there. Then now we move to this side. Jeremiah, Guy. Yeah. One question, Guy. One question.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Afternoon, Your Excellencies. My question is, Your Excellency Ambassador, how are you addressing the Democratic Republic of Congo conflicts that are ongoing and escalating right now? And how are you making peace for the people of Congo who are suffering right now? Thank you very much. I am Guy Nahano Muhanzi, doing international studies here in Strathmore University in the School of Humanities and Social Sciences. I am an international student from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's deal with those two.
Thank you very much. About conflicts between countries or even within societies, the only thing I would say is that nature gave us the most powerful weapon, which is dialogue. Wherever the conflict is, whatever is happening, it could be in Congo, dialogue is the only way out. Somebody who lived 2,500 years ago said something which is simple, but we keep running away from that. I suspect it's even one of the principles of the UN under the table. All the fighting, all the conflicts, even in families, end up around the table with a discussion, with dialogue. And that philosopher, that strategist, 2,500 years ago said, instead of going to kill 5 million people or 10 million people like it happened in the First World War, Second World War, let's go direct to the table and negotiate. Because all those wars ended with dialogue, negotiation, diplomacy, conflict resolution. So the wiser thing, when once there's a conflict, negotiate. Create a negotiating process. For instance, for the conflicts in Gaza, there was a negotiating process in Doha, Qatar. It kept working. Now we have a ceasefire. That's a very good thing. And if you have a conflict in future, that will be the same thing. There has been Ukraine and Russia. There was no well-known process of negotiation. But I hear now, I have not been in Riyadh, that Russia and America started to sit in Riyadh. That's negotiation, that is dialogue. So in all the conflict areas, even including Congo, and I'm answering the second question, you have to end up with dialogue. And in the case of Congo, I am very proud. The president of Kenya has been involved, and I think there is an ongoing dialogue. I am very proud of all those efforts, because once you begin to dialogue, human beings are wonderful. You will end up with a ceasefire. You end up with the end of the war, the end of the conflict. Thank you very much.
Dr. Singoy.
If I could just add one point, Your Excellency, on the matter of DRC and the conflict there. As you're aware, the leaders of two regional blocs to which DRC belongs, EAC, East African Community, and SADC, the Southern Africa Development Community, met 2 weeks ago in Dar es Salaam. These leaders have been able to work very, very hard towards bringing or creating a framework for dialogue. And part of that framework, and therefore, the leaders of the two regional blocs have agreed to merge the processes and establish a panel of facilitators under the chairmanship of President Lorenzo of Angola, to be supported by 3 former heads of states, including Kenya's former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, and 2 others will be appointed. The report of that summit, the EAC SADC Joint Summit, was submitted at the just ended Africa Union Assembly of Heads of States, and it has been adopted, and now those proposals are starting to be implemented. And so over the next couple of months, you will be seeing a bit of action. But ultimately, like the president has said, there is no alternative to dialogue between government and between its people, and between the two governments, Rwanda and DRC. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that clarity. Let me move to this side. Sakina behind there, Jeremiah. Sakina, stand. Yeah. And then we'll take a gentleman still from this side, then I'll come to this side. I'm trying to balance. I'm trying to be fair. All right. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Your Excellencies. Thank you so much for coming here today. So my question relates to the...
Introduce yourself, Sakina.
Oh, yes. Sorry. My name is Sakina Bachu. I'm a 4th year BIS student, international studies student. So my question relates to the three pillars that His Excellency mentioned in his speech: peace and security, development, and human rights and dignity. Today marks 501 days to the start of the hostilities in Gaza. Given the recent escalation of violence in the West Bank and the repeated violations of the ceasefire agreement, what steps do you believe the UN should take to hold all parties accountable, prevent further harm to civilians, and ensure that Palestinians can rebuild Gaza without being strong-armed by certain influential external powers? Thank you.
Thank you. There's a gentleman right behind you, Jeremiah. There's a gentleman right behind you. The hand was up. Then we can deal with those two quickly. So introduce yourself and your question.
Thank you. My name is Devin Kisambira, and I'm a third-year student in doing the Bachelor's of Arts in International Studies. And we thank you, Your Excellency, for choosing Strathmore University, for being the university where you've shared your vision and priorities for the 79th session. And my question is, my question, I'm picking it from your vision statement, where you mentioned that unity and diversity for advancing peace. So we as students, and myself, we would love to know how exactly can we participate in creating an impact in the promotion of your vision, you know, before September, but even beyond September. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, about the first question. Everything that has happened in Gaza or in Israel or in Palestine, there has been a process of negotiations in Doha, Qatar. And that process involved Israel, Egypt, Qatar itself, the United States. So the United Nations, I would say, is not directly and officially present at the table. But the United Nations has appreciated this, and all the negotiations for peace have been good things. And as the UN believes in dialogue, everything that is happening there, the ceasefires and the like, all we're looking forward to is that they end up and we have peace. Because the UN is interested in peace and security. And when once this is happening, when once there's a process in place, human beings, and the UN appreciates that, will end up finding solutions. So if there's anything happening in Gaza or around there, we'll keep working, and there will be solutions eventually, no matter how painful it might be. Then you asked about diversity, how the young people can be involved. In fact, there is a process concerning the youth. And you are directly involved. You can get your ideas into the UN system. And you know, when we adopted the Pact for the Future, there is an annex, a declaration on future generations directly concerning the youth. And one of the pieces, one of the actions in that declaration says that the UN is already listening to young people, but that the UN must continuously listen to the young people so that the future we are preparing for the youth is not taken care of by older people like I am, but in shaping the future in which they are going to live. Not only you, the youth, but even the generations which are not yet here. So there is a big place for youth in that annex, and in the UN there is a system where we are listening to all the youth, and the youth are working with us. For instance, when I did go to the UN for a session where I was asked questions before I got elected, there were a number of young people, and I gave them assurances that the UN was created not only for older people, but also for the youth. We, the people, includes everybody, including the youth. And there is, in fact, a system where we make contributions for the development of the youth. I don't know the details. I have people here who could elaborate on that. But know that the youth have a great place and that your contributions are important in our shaping the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Your Excellency, go ahead.
Thank you very much. In support of what the PJ has just said, the Secretary General has appointed a special envoy for youth for the first time in the history of the UN. And it was originally a director level, but now I think he's an assistant secretary general level. If you go to the website, he's the special envoy for youth. It's there. And because the secretary general, like the PJ said, they're all working to bring the voice of the youth. The secretary general does not only believe the youth are the future leader, no. He's saying that they have to be on the table now because they have to be aware of what we are giving them to inherit. So they cannot wait until you inherit a world in which they cannot change. So it is important. And the experience of it is that we had the civil society meeting, the UN civil society meeting for the first time in 64, 65 years out of the global south, out of the global north. For the first time it was held here. And the first time it was held in the global south was in Kenya. Last year, the Secretary General came and the President of Kenya attended. Over 40% of the participants were youth. So the UN has decided that in the heart of UN operation, we have to put the youth because they are different. This is why they talked about the pact of the future, because it is what you are going young children. The way my son thinks and me think, they're completely different. So sometimes he has to tell me what to do. So the Secretary General is so I just want to emphasize that within the UN structure, the Secretariat, there is a special envoy of youth. So if you want to participate, you can reach out to him. If you go to the UN website, you can Google him, it's there, and you can make sure you have a connection. I'm sure there are youth programs here. If it's something that you are very interested, I can bring Sandra, who is a director for United Nations Information Services. She is leading our voice in Kenya on that youth participation. So if it's something that the Vice Chancellor would like, we'll get her to come and talk to you so you understand what are the avenues and the opportunities for you to participate into the UN discussions and debate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Now we'll take the last 4 questions. Let me take from this lady right to the front. I'll take 2 from this side and 2 from this side. Isn't that fair? Yeah, that's fair. All right.
They always say that at some point you can say something and it never
Introduce
comes.
yourself, please.
Yeah, I'm introducing myself. It's coming. Yeah, they always say that at some point you think of something and it never comes to fulfillment. But for mine, it's a special thing that I have a dream that one day I'll sit in the shoes of the current president, Your Excellency Ambassador Philemon Yang. My name is Sang Linda Chepkoech, a current second-year law student at the Strathmore Law School. I'm sorry if I've repeated myself, a law student, Strathmore Law School. The UNGA, I've given you a short name of the United Nations General Assembly. If the UNGA were a student running in an assignment on solving global problems, will it get an A for impact, a C for efforts, or a C me after class for unfulfilled promises? Every year, we hear great speeches about solving global problems, poverty, climate change, inequality, but somehow these problems keep renewing their contracts like they have a tenure. What fresh strategy does the 79th session have to finally fire them?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your question. Repeat the last part for His Excellency.
Oh. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, just go straight to the question. Speak slowly, please.
I am sorry. I'm going to talk.
Just a question,
Yeah.
slowly.
Every year, we hear great speeches on problems, including poverty, climate change, inequality. But somehow, these problems keep renewing like they keep renewing their contracts like they have a tenure? What fresh strategy does the 79th session have to finally fire them? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Jeremiah, this gentleman, Kill. And then I'm done with this side. The next two questions are this side. Go ahead, Kelvin.
Well, thank you for this honor. I would love to direct my question to...
Introduce yourself.
My name is Kelvin, a second year student studying international relations. I would love to direct my question towards the PS, Dr. Korisi Ngoe. So my question was concerning the challenges that are faced in Kenya's diplomacy. We can see at first what happened in Addis. We should not talk of that, but we should like to see there's a lot of challenges where people say that our president talking to Macron, the France president, and not concerning the RSSF, which lately have had some issues. So from these challenges, we can't leave you because you also, after the SADC letter, we had like some complications with your need. So from these challenges of yours, what can we learn from you that we can take forward as better Kenyan diplomats in the future? Thank you.
All right, thank you for those two questions. Let the panel handle these ones. Your Excellency first.
Thank you very much. I begin with the last question. I will let my brother here answer that one because it concerns Kenyan diplomacy. I will address the other question about the United Nations General Assembly and the fact that we keep coming to the same things and we make speeches, like I made a speech here. This is a very complex question, and you're right to ask it. I also asked the question myself. Humanity has been around for millions of years and thousands of years. Every age has challenges. Some of the challenges which are constant are like hunger. We never have enough food to go around. Disease. Even when we've done everything, there will be pandemics. The last one killed a lot of people, not in Africa. And I'm afraid there will be pandemics in future. There used to be the Black Death around the 1800s. We also have the issue of violence. Violence all over the place. Even here, I think you know people who commit crimes, who kill others. Even if you had no one killing you, some people commit suicide. So these are some of the issues humanity is dealing with. And there is no heaven. Even in the Garden of Eden, for those who read the Bible, Cain killed Abel. We learn that in heaven there was Satan, who was dangerous and was thrown out of heaven. Even Jesus Christ had his disciples. And there was the Judas Iscariot. So I wouldn't propose to you that the UN or anybody will create a heaven for you. These are human problems and we keep dealing with them. Even when we finish dealing with the challenges we have now, there will be new challenges. So all we can say is that we are seeking to do what we can do to improve human life. Even if we improved everything, there will be diseases we cannot cure. So no, don't be afraid. It is our attempt to make a small contribution. And when the older people like I am are dead and gone, your generation will face new problems and challenges. But if you look at the world from the beginning, there are better medical services here, meaning that there is development. I used to come here, I see very beautiful houses all over the place. Before independence, most of the people here didn't go to university. But now you are in university. You're studying and you become a great lady. So don't get discouraged. Things keep getting better. We are by far better off than we used to be. But we wouldn't be in heaven. Not everything is going to be right. But we keep working on this. And the only choice we have is to make good efforts to improve the place of humankind and also develop a good attitude so that when we see a problem, we deal with it. Even if you try to solve all the problems, there will be murderers who will come along and put a bullet into your head. I don't wish that for anybody. So no, I think we will have the problems and we keep struggling with them. I am not trying to condemn humanity, but there's a Greek tale about the myth of Sisyphus. Sisyphus was a man who was condemned by the gods, theoretically, who was at the foot of a hill, and he had a boulder, you could call it a stone, and he would try every time to get it above the summit. Every time he gets close to the summit, that stone will fall back, and Sisyphus would go back and begin the same process. I'm not saying that human beings are condemned to that, but Albert Camus, a French writer, in fact, he got the Nobel Prize for Literature, released this study. And sometimes you think that probably we're not succeeding very well. But when you see the small things that work, you can be grateful that humankind is not all in trouble, but we keep working on our problems. Even in 1,000 years, I'm afraid there will be issues to deal with, challenges. What we can do every time is to try to find the opportunities, but there will always be challenges. Thank you very much.
So, Your Excellency, I would not want to belabor this point around the AU elections because it will take time. But suffice it to say that Kenya plays a very constructive role in the region. It is a leader that is highly respected on various issues, whether it's on the peace and security frontier, or on the climate frontier, or on the UN reform frontier. Kenya has and will continue to be a frontline state on a number of these issues. With regard to the just ended elections for the chairperson of the African Union Commission, I think it's important to point out that this is the second time in 5 years that Kenya has attempted to provide the chair of the AUC Commission. In both attempts, Kenya has lost very, very narrowly. All right, so it's something to be proud about because we have offered ourselves to lead. Elections are very interesting. They provide clarity. You're able to understand better what you are getting right, what you are getting wrong, who your friends are, and what you need to do next time when you make these attempts. There are great lessons that both those defeats have taught us, which we will be able to integrate into our diplomatic strategy and toolbox to enable us to be able to surmount challenges in the days heretofore. But that's a conversation I'd like to really have with you on a very dedicated session because we are still reflecting and collecting data about what happened, where did we miss. But I do know that we put our best foot forward and our country should be prouder for it. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. So the last two questions, let's come, the gentleman at the end, Jeremiah, and then the lady right next to him on the same row. Let's start here. Jeremiah, this gentleman, his hand has been up for a while, so introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Joe Abala. I'm a student, School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Bachelor of Arts in Development Studies and Philosophy. Before I could ask my question, Dr. Guido, I have a question for each member of the panel.
You have a question?
For each member of the panel.
No, I only want one question. Only one question. So choose the most pressing question.
Kenya.
And women empowerment. My question goes to you saying that after your term, how do you want to be remembered by future, our generation, of course, now we're in future, what are you doing so that we'll remember you in these things that you're really pressing and trying to solve and make a difference? How do you want the future generations to remember you? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellencies.
Thank you very much. The last question is about women. How do I want to be remembered? I will answer that, but I first let the Director General, the Ambassador, Your Excellency, to answer the first question about somebody was raising about human rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, like the PG say, he's president of the General Assembly. He sits to discuss on the work of the UN and what it does. So that question cannot go to him. So that's point one. Secondly, it is a question that should be addressed by the resident coordinator, because he is the one who actually works on issues that dealing with those issues. So that's just how I wanted to say it's not a question anybody can answer, because Kenya is a sovereign state. Kenya is a member of the UN. So to be able to intervene, there are different agencies. There's a High Commission for Human Rights. If he was here, you should have asked him that question, because he's the High Commissioner. He is the operational arm of human rights violation in the UN. So that's why I wanted to say. So not that we don't want to answer it, because UN, we have what we call mandates. I am the Director General, the head of the UN in Kenya, but my main mandate is the umbrella for the protection and operation of UN in Kenya. So we don't deal with programmatic issues. So not that we don't want to answer your question, but we don't have the mandate to be able to respond, because what the human rights people have released, whether they did a press release, whether they spoke to the victim, we are not privy to it. So we cannot be able to tell. I'm very sorry, but I just wanted the colleagues to know basically how it works. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. About the question, how I want to be remembered, I make 2 points. The first one is the issue of women is so important. Equality, women, girls, that it goes far beyond any individual or any organization. So that is an important issue. If we're doing anything, it's because we think it's our responsibility to act and do the things that are necessary. How I be remembered, that doesn't count. I'm a small man. I don't even want to be remembered as having done anything. I just want it to be known that the UN, the General Assembly, was interested in addressing the issue of women and girls. And if that can be done, I am only there for a few months. In the next 500 years, probably we wouldn't be here, but other people will continue to deal with this. So this is an important issue which goes beyond anybody being remembered for anything. In fact, if I'm to be remembered for anything, it should be that this was a small guy who tried to do his duty and do it well, not asking what history would think. History would think what he will hit. I don't need to be specially remembered for anything. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's give the panel another round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Your Excellencies. At this time, I will invite you to take back your seats. Thank you so much. Let's give them another round of applause as they take their seats for enlightening us and giving us insights to many questions. Sorry we couldn't take all the questions because of constraints of time, and we are most privileged because he was even able to spare the time that he has spared for us. Thank you so much. So at this point, I'd like to invite Dr. Magdalene Dimba, the Dean, School of Humanities and Social Sciences at Strathmore University, to come and deliver her closing remarks. Welcome, Dean. Let's give her a round of applause as she comes up.
Your Excellency, the Ambassador Philemon Yang, President of the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly, Your Excellency, Mrs. Zainab Hawa, Director General of the United Nations Office at Nairobi, the Principal Secretary, State Department of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Korir Singwe, Dr. Vincent Ogutu, the Vice Chancellor, Strathmore University, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I have the honor and pleasure and privilege to deliver these closing remarks at the conclusion of this insightful public lecture. Today, we have been privileged to listen to the vision and priorities of the President of the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly. And we must say it is a privilege. This is one that happens once in a very long time, and it has happened during your period here in Strathmore University. We must say thank you very much for that privilege. The vision that he has shared resonates deeply with the core values of Strathmore University, as he has highlighted aspects related to excellence. He has reiterated several times, including for his own life, where he has said that he only wants to be remembered to have done his work and done it well. I think we emphasize that in Strathmore a lot. Do it and do it well. Do it and finish it. There's a lot that he has told us that is reiterating what we also tell you. He has also mentioned issues related to inclusivity, social responsibility, that many times we tell you, service to society, or even beyond that, collaboration. Do your work, do it well, do it with others, recognize that we are all able to contribute differently. Ambassador Yang's vision anchored the theme, unity in diversity for the advancement of peace, sustainable development, and human dignity for everyone, everywhere, underscores the importance of global solidarity in addressing the pressing challenges of our time. He has emphasized that problems will always be there, but we keep looking for the solutions that we can give today. And when they arise tomorrow, somebody else who is there tomorrow will also look for the best way to solve these challenges. And from the urgent need to achieve sustainable development to the imperative of fostering human rights, gender equality, the ambassador has reminded us of the critical role of multilateralism in shaping a just and equitable world. He has really underscored the importance of dialogue. He has also brought out issues including global governance reform, climate action, antimicrobial resistance, digital aspects of governance, as well as the future, looking at the future in these aspects. They are not just global concerns, but also matters that impact our local communities. These issues challenge us as scholars, practitioners, and responsible citizens to contribute to the collective efforts aimed at securing a sustainable and inclusive future. The ambassador has emphasized on the need for being proactive, and especially to our young ones, telling you that you have to work hard and become a star so that you're able to stand out among others, if you really want to secure a job or if you really want to contribute and contribute well in the society. He has mentioned that we need to look at the vulnerable communities and promote peace, and particularly compelling us to be peaceful in the way we do our things, and especially we can draw from dialogue. This call, his call for gender equality, human rights, protection, and more inclusive. He has emphasized that you're not leaders of tomorrow, but you're leaders of today. As we leave this auditorium, let us carry with us the spirit of this lecture, a spirit of hope, a spirit of determination to contribute the little that we can contribute today, a spirit of shared responsibility, and a spirit of contributing the little that you can contribute today to make a better tomorrow. May we be inspired to continue our academic pursuits. We're in an academic institution, and therefore let's continue our academic pursuits with a renewed sense of energy, with a renewed sense of urgency, and with a renewed sense of commitment to contributing in our own ways. Finally, Your Excellency, we extend our heartfelt gratitude for sharing your wisdom, for reminding us that while challenges exist, and while we face the immense challenges that are there, there's still the transformative change, there's potential for transformative change, there's potential for being united, for collaborating, and being greater in everything we do. On behalf of the School of Humanities and Social Sciences at Strathmore University, we say a big thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Dimba, for your wonderful remarks. At this time, as we come to the close of this session, I'd like to invite Ambassador Paul Ndungu, the Acting Director General of the Foreign Service Academy, to come and move the vote of thanks. Welcome, Ambassador.
Your Excellency, the President of the 17th session of the UN General Assembly, Ambassador Philemon Yang, Your Excellency, the DG of UNON in Nairobi, Ambassador Zainab Bangura, the distinguished Vice Chancellor of this wonderful university, Dr. Vincent Ogutu, the Dean of the School of Humanities and Social Sciences in this university, Dr. Magdalene Dimba, Your Excellencies, ambassadors and senior officials from different universities and institutions, including the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, distinguished participants, students, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ambassador Paul Ndungu. I am the Acting Director General for the Foreign Service Academy, and I had the privilege to coordinate this event on behalf of the ministry. And it is my honor to pass a vote of thanks, first of all, to His Excellency Ambassador Philemon Yang for the grace and for the generosity of sharing with us his world of experience and wisdom in the work of the UN, and particularly his vision of the work that's ahead of him during the 79th session of the UN General Assembly. Sir, we want to appreciate you so much, and may God bless you. Now, I would like also to thank the university fraternity, led by the Vice Chancellor and Dr. Ndimba and the teams that worked on this. We can never have enough words to thank you for the partnership, for the collaboration, for making available this wonderful venue for this kind of dialogue. Indeed, Dr. Ndimba has gone through the kind of issues that we have discussed today, and I want to thank all participants who raised their questions so that you made it possible for us to have a meaningful dialogue with our distinguished guest of honor. I would like to thank the Minister of Foreign Affairs for having accepted to collaborate with us who were organizing this event, and especially all the officials who came to join in this discussion. I can never have enough words, all of you, ladies and gentlemen, with which to thank you for your time, for your commitment, and for your enthusiasm in the work of the UN, and particularly in the vision of our chief guest, His Excellency Ambassador Philemon Yang. I want to thank you so much, and I want to promise you that as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, we are committed to keep this dialogue going. We are committed to strengthen the collaboration between our government and our people and the UN. We thank you so much for coming, and may God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Paul Ndungu, for your vote of thanks. At this time, as we come to the close of this session, I'd like to invite Dr. Vincent Ogutu, the Vice Chancellor, to kindly come back to the podium so that you can be able to give a small token of appreciation to our chief guest. So. I want to invite you, Your Excellency, Ambassador Philemon Yang, receive a small token on behalf from Strathmore. Let's give them a round of applause as he receives it. Something to remember us by. All right. Thank you so much. At this juncture, I'd like us to be upstanding kindly. As we allow our distinguished guests, the ambassadors, the excellencies, to leave on this side to go for a photo session on that right side, please. Let's remain standing kindly. Nobody else moves. Let's observe protocol and let's show them the respect they deserve. I'd like to invite Your Excellency to go. You'll be led by our communications team to go and take a few photos. Let's kindly allow our distinguished guests to leave first. And then for the rest of us, let's use these other exits as we leave. But wait first, a small announcement. We got a small refreshment. These bottles of water that we have, if there is any around where you're seated, please carry it. Do not leave it under the seats. Please don't hit it. They are very delicate. On our way out, we will place them in the various crates. You'll find them outside there. Please let us do that in an orderly manner. And once again, thank you for gracing this opportunity. And we'll get a chance to have such debates going forward. Thank you so much.